Hello everyone and welcome to another Vigor map tutorial. I hope you all brought your tents and sleeping bags, because we are going camping in the beautiful hills of Fjellkanten. Fjell is a large map with lobbies of 9 to 12 players, and it's a different map from all the other ones we have covered so far. The entire map is part of a hilltop with very little buildings, only 3 or 4 buildings on the entire map. Which means it's a very open map and it requires a different playing style. I personally do not like the map. I have died a lot of times trying to gather all the info for this tutorial because I am not good at long range conflicts. And a couple of other reasons why I don't like it. But let's just get started with the tutorial. And normally I start with the overviews of all the important data like spawns, but today I'm going to start with a little bit of map dynamic first. It's just easier to explain everything else if I just cover a small part of this first. I know it's not the most interesting part of the video for most people, so feel free to skip forward using the chapters if you do not need this part of the video. So, the dynamics of Fjell compared to other maps. This is a long range map and it's a very open map. If you are on a hill in the center of the map, then you can see both of the far ends of it. There is no other map that really gives you such a long line of sight as Fjell does. And there is also very little cover on this map. So you are heavily dependent on rocks for hard cover or bushes for visual cover. All of the interesting points on this map, whether it be points of interest or locations with loot, they are all at bad locations to be in. They are all going to be on the lower sides of the map with the hills and high vantage points around it. Close range weapons do not perform very well here, so most players will bring in a scoped long range weapon, M21, SVU, SVD, SG1, all very powerful weapons that can take you out in 2 shots, if your aim isn't a potato like mine is. Okay, so far part 1 of the map dynamics, and now we can get started with the data overviews. And we start off with our points of interest overview. There are not that many potential spawning locations for the objectives on Fjell, mostly due to the lack of buildings on this map. Bard House will spawn in one of the 3 buildings on the map, the church, the farm or the goat shepherd, not sure, or in one of the caverns on the map. There are 2 caves under a hill on this map. Both of these caves have 2 entrances and one of them also has a map exit point which can be sealed off, hence the named sealed off section. Time Safe will spawn in one of the caves, or at the old geezer's farm, or just in the open at the abandoned retreat. Container just spawns in the open across the map. All of the locations for container are wide open and they contribute to the map dynamics of having something interesting on a very exposed location with all sides being open to incoming enemy fire. If they are inside somewhere, the caves or a building, those areas also have a very limited option to exit from, and you should expect them to be camped from a distance as well. This makes the jammer a lot less interesting on this map to find enemies in and around of points of interest. And as you can see, the points of interest are very spread out on this map, but often will spawn at same locations or very close to each other. So there is no real main playing field on this map that is defined by points of interest like there is on other maps. Next up is the loot distribution. I'm going to be honest here, this is probably not the best info I have ever given for loot. Most maps I have a very good understanding where everything is, but for Fjell I don't. I really don't. I did my best to go on this map and explore as many areas as I could to see where the good spots are, but I died so quickly that I don't really feel confident in saying, hey, these are the best looting spots for Fjell. But I will give you some of my insights. First area is the church area. This part of the map is on an elevated plateau, so that makes it a little bit secluded compared to the other areas of the map. You will have more close range combat here as long as you stay on the good side of the church. There are 2 buildings here, which means you have a decent chance of finding a blue lockbox. Combined with the dump spot at the Crazy Driver and the Baptist spawn, you should be able to find a nice amount of resources here. Next is the Abandoned Retreat. This makeshift camp also provides some resources, and the area around the water will also give you fuel or chemicals or a stray nail box. Old Geezer's Farm is a bit the same, 2 buildings with some scattered loot around it. Both of the caves and the nearby areas, every aircraft crash site, and every lake will have something to loot. Same for the Geologist Camp and the Goat Shepherd area. I don't think that any of these areas are a jackpot for any type of specific loot. You will need more than one location to actually leave with a high loot per encounter. But just follow your instincts a bit on this map. If it looks like a spot could have loot, it probably will. A campsite, a crash site, a sign along a trail. Most of the loot on this map is very scattered into small little hubs. Unfortunately, I do not have all these small little hubs mapped out for you. Personally, I do not think this is the best map to go to as a new player to obtain resources. I think the risk versus reward is not balanced enough here. You are very exposed while you are looting, and while your eyes are focused on looting containers, they will miss the glare of a scope or another player in the distance. I have also seen people say that they like Fjell for the food. And yes, there is food on this map, but I feel that other maps provide you with food in a much easier way, like Brodalen. So overall, you will get loot on this map, but I do not recommend doing this map just for loot itself. Moving on to the player spawns. The benefit of dying a lot is that you get to load into a lot more games, and more games means more spawning locations. So here I can say I found most of them. And here they are. The north and northeast side are the most heavily populated, while the area southwest around the church is slightly less populated. Of course, that area is a lot more narrow than the rest of the map. The spawns up north really are everywhere around you. If you happen to spawn somewhere in the middle, be aware that other outlanders will have eyes on you in no time. Being close to a point of interest is also not per se the best spot to be in unless you plan on camping it. Other than that, there's not much else to say about the spawning. Spawning on the outer edges of the map is actually one of the better locations to be at, so your back is against a wall or the edge of the map, and that means you have one side less that you need to cover. Signal detector. On a map where everybody sits in a bush all the time, it can be useful to know where they are. Unfortunately, signals is also one of the most camped locations on this map. So portables are a good tool to have on this map if you are approaching signals or any other kind of situation. There are 5 potential spawning locations, which is not that much for such a large map. The one at the church, like I said before, that area is more close range than the rest of the map. That one is good to get control over the church area. And because you are on an elevated plateau, you have a good advantage over any approaching enemies from below. The one just west of the sealed off section, that one is also a bit more in cover and can also provide you with a lot of information on the majority of the map area. The other 3 locations, at the Abandoned Retreat, the Farm and the Geologist Camp, those are very exposed. And you should always expect somebody to be watching you if you go to one of those. These 3 also give you some control over the area, but using them also puts you at a very bad location compared to all the uphill bush campers, unless you are a very aggressive player. So we already covered the map dynamics a little bit at the start of the video, and I hope that with the comments I made on the other subjects that it's a bit clear of what kind of map this is. It's a very campy map. Half of the players will be sitting in a bush, somewhere near a point of interest, or near signals, or just on top of a hillside. And if you are a semi-passive looter, you will just run into their bush Wookiee trap and die. Even if you are a player who hunts other players, you will still find yourself dying a lot to these bush campers. The lobbies are also some of the sweatiest that I have seen. Not that the players are per se sweaty, but you will not find any raincoat lobbies on this map. People bring in a sniper, and those are often already blue, purple or gold tier weapons. And they often reinforce their loadout with a close range weapon as well, like a PPS, a Suomi, a Bugle, an M249, an M3, you know, all the fun stuff we love dying to. So let's say you do not want to play as a bush Wookiee, but you also don't want to die all the time. How do you play Fjellkanten then? You play aggressively, or actively if you prefer that term. But you can't play reactively on this map, because then you just end up sitting still in the same spot all the time. Of course, being active also means you become a target for all those campers. Best thing you can do here is zigzag a lot over the hills from one side to the other to avoid the long range snipers. And also be very cautious of every bush. You should play this map in a way as if there's always somebody chasing or watching you. And this will require a lot of mobility from you as a player. You're running uphill and downhill a lot, and that increases your distances hugely. And just like the rocky part of Fisk, you will burn through your stamina very quickly. And losing your stamina at the wrong time will make you an easy target for snipers. So caffeine and the new stim boost will give you a huge advantage here. But, big but here, you are, at this moment, taking advice from somebody who died more on this map than gotten kills. I've had maybe 3 good games on Fjell out of the 50 plus that I played, and that's, you know, games where I got 3 kills or more. I got threat only once on this map, and it was a lobby with no snipers. It was really weird yet fun to play. And I have maybe 10 games where I got out alive with some decent loot. I already mentioned the risk versus reward is very high on this map. On the other hand, getting those long range kills is also very satisfying. Getting a 200 meter headshot with a Mosin is really awesome. So what's the verdict here? You will either love this map or you will hate it. But definitely give it a try. You might discover some unknown sniping talent in yourself. Just make sure you bring a sniper rifle that you are comfortable with, and know that this is a map that will require some time for you to get used to if you did not play it before. Alright, quick look at the Hotzones. Early game Hotzones will always be the more exposed points of interest, like container or timed or the signal detector. And then a couple of locations that just always seem to attract trouble are the church, the goat shepherd cabin, the abandoned retreat and the farm. Pretty much any interesting location. Like I said, there is no real main playing field on this map, it's just a whole map. And for such a large map, there's a lot of conflicts happening. And that's without the concentration of loot and points of interest like we see on other maps. And now we have come to the final part of the video, the exits. Something I did not get to do a lot unfortunately, but I did get some info on them. Fjell has 7 exits, which is a lot. One of the exits can be sealed off by the person who is exiting, but I also think you can reopen it from a different location inside the cave. This exit is very useful if barred or timed spawn in there and just want to grab and go. Of course, it's a very campy location, bottleneck passageways, very hard to see, so be careful if you choose that exit. The exits to the south and southwest, both of these are harder to reach, because whoever has control of the upper church area also has control over both of those exits. From the mountain range, players have a clear line of sight over the whole southern exit, and if they know that you are going for the one near the pond, it's very easy to cut you off. And there is also a lot of bushes in that area. The 2 exits to the north, same story here. A player that sets themselves up at a certain location has a clear line of sight of both of these exits, and you will be very exposed when entering them. Will they actually be able to kill you from such a distance? I'm not sure, it's pretty far. Further than the distance between the south exit and the church is. It's viable to use, but definitely a risky one. So then we have the exit that is more to the center of the map to the west. That one is a bit more covered and easier to get to. Same with the other exit all the way to the east. It's also surrounded by the hills, and just feels safer to go to that one. It all depends where the conflicts are happening and how many bush Wookiees are up in the hills. That's all I have for you today. Not the best tutorial in this series, I have to admit it, but I hope this helps you survive Fjellkanten better than I did. Feel free to leave a comment with your own experience of Fjell. I'd love to hear someone's opinion who is actually good on this map. And if you're still watching at this point, maybe leave a like and subscribe. I post gameplay videos every week and the rest of the tutorials are coming very soon. As always, thanks for watching and see you all next video. Bye!